In my previous life, I was a follower of the male protagonist Gavin and was paired with his affectionate childhood sweetheart Kelly. After marriage, I was gentle and considerate to Kelly, the female partner, and obeyed her in everything. However, she slapped me hard in the face and asked me harshly, "Coward. Why did you agree to marry me? It's all your fault that I'm not doing well." In order to see the male protagonist Gavin more often, Kelly slandered me for being bad to her, which led to the male protagonist Gavin punching me repeatedly, destroying my company and causing me to die tragically on the street. Reliving my life, I pushed away Kelly, the affectionate and pitiful woman curled up in my arms, and righteously refused. "I dare not marry your childhood sweetheart, find another better match." The story is about to begin. If you like it, remember to like and follow. In the box, the male lead Gavin hugged the female lead Jenny, and the smile on his face froze. Kelly, the female partner who was pushed away by me, could no longer hold it in. She covered her face and sobbed, pushed away the onlookers, and ran away. Everyone looked at each other. Time goes back 5 minutes. As soon as I opened my eyes, I found myself reborn at Gavin's 20th birthday party. He just hugged Jenny, the pure and weak heroine who was as white as a little flower, and loudly expressed his love to his friends around him. Today, I want to tell everyone that Jenny is the only woman in my life and I love her forever. We were all Gavin's followers, so naturally we cheered, applauded, and screamed for his corny confession. In the lively atmosphere, the heroine Jenny leaned on Gavin shyly with a blushing face, but her eyes were looking at the only girl in the corner who was forcing a smile. Jenny quietly tugged at Gavin's shirt, biting her lip, with a guilty look on her face. "Gavin, don't be so high profile. Kelly likes you so much, she will be sad." Only then did Gavin realize that the childhood sweetheart who had been pursuing him for several years was still standing by. So he frowned and thought for half a minute, his eyes moving back and forth among our group of followers. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, he waved for Kelly to come over, and then pulled her into my arms. "Kelly, I know you like me, but the love of my life is only Jenny, and I have always treated you as my sister. David is my best friend. He's not bad looking, and he happens to be single. You two are a perfect match, so you two are a perfect match." In my previous life, a woman was stuffed into my arms and my mind was confused. He was about to say no, but when he felt the woman's body tremble slightly in his arms, he swallowed it back. Kelly was sobbing quietly. At that moment, I suddenly felt a little soft-hearted and pity for this affectionate spare tire. I couldn't bear to push her away and let her be humiliated again. So everyone laughed and joked with us, following Gavin's words and praising the two of us as a perfect match. Gavin is the eldest son of the Gavin family group. Although our group of followers have wealthy families, we all rely more or less on the Gavin family for our business. How could a follower refute the eldest young master's words? Even if everyone thinks that Gavin is disrespectful by pairing people up like this, no one would say it out loud to embarrass him. That night, I defended Kelly's shaky self-esteem. I thought the matter would be over the next day, but I underestimated Gavin's obsession with pairing up. Since then, he would call Kelly and me out every now and then, showing off his love for Jenny in front of us and asking us how we were getting along. Kelly was used to being humble in front of Gavin. Seeing him and Jenny being affectionate, her eyes became red. However, she still had a gentle smile on her face, and she held up her self-esteem and said that she got along well with me. When my parents learned that Grandpa Gavin introduced me to a girlfriend, who was Grandpa Gavin's childhood sweetheart, they urged me to get along well with her and not to irritate the girl, which would otherwise make Grandpa Gavin angry. After all, my company is a downstream supplier of the Gavin family group, and the Gavin family is our largest customer, so of course we have to treat them like a big Buddha. So under this circumstance, Kelly and I became a couple in the eyes of others. But I know that Kelly has never given up on Gavin. 2 years later, Gavin, who had just graduated from college, couldn't wait to take Jenny to get a marriage certificate. Kelly's eyes were red at Gavin's grand wedding. She was drunk that night and held my hand tightly, saying, "David, let's be together." Amid the jeers of others, Kelly actually took out a ring and put it on my hand. "David, are you willing to spend the rest of your life with me?" I looked at her tearful eyes and once again felt so soft-hearted that I was speechless. Finally, for some unknown reason, I agreed to her proposal. Now that I think about it, why did I agree to Kelly at that time? Even after marrying her, I still had the delusion of living a good life with her. After all, Gavin's family group is the accumulation of several generations, and my family's company was built by my parents from scratch. In terms of family background, I am indeed not as good as Gavin. In order to be worthy of Kelly, I worked very hard after taking over the company. She is also a pampered girl in the family, and I can't let her suffer any grievances no matter what I say. So after marriage, I obeyed her in everything and didn't let household chores restrict her. After she got married, she often traveled around the world with her younger sisters and was away from home for a long time. My parents complained a lot, but I comforted them. In the second year after her marriage, both sides of the family took turns urging her to have a baby, and I blocked all of them for her. I run a company and sometimes I have to work overtime and not be able to sleep for days and nights. But when she caught a cold and said she was feeling unwell and didn't want a nanny to take care of her and wanted me to accompany her, I forced myself to take care of her with my eyelids that were about to droop. I never flirt with other women and always put her first. I always put a lot of effort into getting her what she wants. Sometimes, she would snuggle in my arms at night and tell me that she was lucky to marry me. To be honest, Kelly is not worse than Jenny. She is even prettier and more generous than Jenny, and her family background is far better than Jenny's. If Gavin hadn't pointed it out to me, Kelly might not have liked me. So I was flattered by the slightest kindness from Kelly. I thought she was slowly letting go of Gavin, but I didn't expect that Kelly, who occasionally showed a bit of tenderness towards me, actually never looked down on me from the beginning to the end. Gavin became her obsession and demon. Because I was the man Gavin personally pushed to her, she accepted it all just to make Gavin feel at ease. But Gavin and Jenny were relieved, but Kelly's obsession with Gavin grew day by day, like a shackle, binding herself and me tightly. The conflict between Kelly and I broke out without warning. Before this, I thought she and I had a harmonious relationship. The trigger was a business dinner. Gavin, who is already the president of Gavin Family Group, is undoubtedly the focus of the crowd. I stayed with Gavin as usual, and Kelly, as my wife, naturally came with me. Everything seemed normal until Jenny showed up with a rare pink diamond necklace around her neck. This necklace was exactly what Kelly wanted at the previous auction, but I couldn't get it. After all, this necklace is very beautiful and Jenny also wants it, so I naturally can't compete with Gavin. Kelly was also present on the day of the auction. Seeing this, she simply said, "It doesn't matter if I can't win. I can buy something else." I thought she didn't care that much about the necklace. But after the dinner that day, she had a gloomy face on her face all the way back, and no matter how I tried to cheer her up, she ignored me. When we got home, Kelly finally snapped. She rushed into the basement, picked up the baseball bat I used for exercise, and smashed everything in sight. She rushed forward hysterically while smashing things. I yelled at her to stop me. Besides giggling and telling jokes that aren't funny at all, what else can you do? Why can't you compare to Gavin? Why are you so cowardly? If I marry you, I will have to look after Jenny's face for the rest of my life. Can't you be more motivated so that I can have the confidence to compete with Jenny? Why did you agree to be with me in the first place? It was out of pity, right? Even someone like you can pity me? Why? David, I really hate you. If you hadn't agreed that day, and Gavin had to force me to you, I wouldn't have to be so frustrated. Her series of whys caught me off guard. It was that day that I realized that hidden beneath Kelly's calm face was a deep hatred for me. Yes, she didn't hate Gavin who handed her to me. Instead, she hated my momentary pity and soft-heartedness that put her in a difficult position. But Kelly forgot that it was she who proposed to me first. From then on, Kelly dropped all her pretense and she would often have big fights with me. Over the years of marriage, I can say that I have done the best I could for Kelly, so of course I feel heartbroken when she behaves like this. I also can't stand the fact that my wife, who has been married for many years, is still obsessed with another man. So I filed for divorce from her. But Kelly unexpectedly rejected me. Because she found that every time she had a huge quarrel with me, Gavin would appear beside us as an old friend and act as a peacemaker, and use the tone of a person who had experienced it to persuade both of us to stop quarreling and live a good life. Kelly felt that this was proof that Gavin couldn't let her go. She was drinking poison to quench her thirst. She refused to divorce me just to be able to see Gavin outside of business situations. But my life has been dragged into the abyss since then. I also don't understand Gavin. He is obviously deeply in love with his wife Jenny, but after Kelly and I had a big fight, he kept telling me to be nicer to Kelly. At first, it was just a verbal warning, but as Kelly became more and more outrageous, Gavin's methods became more and more violent, and he began to target my company. When I was on a business trip overseas, Kelly suddenly committed suicide by cutting her wrists for some unknown reason. After receiving the news, I rushed back home, but what greeted me was Gavin's fist. He gritted his teeth and said, "David, I handed Kelly over to you, and this is how you treat her?" I was exhausted from the journey and had become mentally and physically exhausted by these two people. Seeing Gavin like this, I smiled bitterly and asked him, "Who is bullying whom? Don't you really know what Kelly is thinking?" Jenny was also there at the time. My words made Gavin's face turn green. "What the hell are you talking about? Kelly is my sister. I treat her as my sister." That day, Jenny left with a displeased look on her face, and Gavin chased after her. They had a big fight in front of the hospital and it became a hot topic on the internet. After that, Gavin started targeting my company. In fact, after I took over my own company, I traveled everywhere and attracted clients everywhere, just to reduce the proportion of Gavin Family Group's business in my company. But I have tried very hard, but still can't change the situation. No matter how many large clients I talk to, they all have some relationship with the Gavin Family Group in some way, as if the Gavin family is the only dominant family in the world. So, Gavin only had to snap his fingers and my family went bankrupt. After the bankruptcy, Kelly handed me the divorce agreement without me even having to bring it up. The day I went to get my divorce certificate, I was in a daze and didn't understand why I had ended up living the way I was now. It was not until my body was hit by a speeding car and flew high into the air, then fell heavily to the ground, that I realized that the world I lived in was just a novel with Gavin and Jenny as the protagonists. Kelly is an important female supporting role who is in love with Gavin but cannot get him. I am just a cannon fodder pulled out by the male protagonist to pair up with the female supporting role, to highlight the love-hate relationship between the three of them. After I die, the story continues. Kelly claimed that she would never marry again and would live with the portrait of her late husband, who is me. Another 10 years later, the heroine Jenny is diagnosed with brain cancer, and the heroes Gavin and Kelly accompany her through her last days. Before she died, Jenny was lucid for a rare moment. She took Kelly's hand and placed it on Gavin's hand. "Kelly, I know you still love Gavin deeply. After I'm gone, I ask you to take good care of him." After Jenny's death, Kelly and Gavin, who were already in their 40s, finally got together. She treated Jenny and Gavin's children as her own and remained childless throughout her life. Gavin and Kelly would bring their children to visit Jenny's grave every year, but Kelly's ex-husband, me, had long been forgotten by her. Only my elderly parents will shed tears and miss me on my death anniversary and light a stick of incense for me. But why? I am also a living person. In my more than 30 years of life, I have experienced sadness and disappointment, as well as joy and happiness. I have experienced the anger of being betrayed and blamed, and I have also tasted the joy of feeling the breeze brushing my cheek. But in the end, it told me that my life was a fake. I try hard to live, just to become a part of the game between the protagonist and the supporting characters. I fell into darkness amidst great anger and injustice. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the birthday party where Gavin and Jenny got married. Just like in the previous life, Kelly was once again pushed into my arms by Gavin. There were shouts and whistles all around. Kelly was trembling slightly in my arms, just like in her previous life, and my shirt on my chest was soon wet. She was heartbroken by Gavin, and he handed her to me like a piece of merchandise. At this moment, she was immersed in her own sadness, burying her head in front of me and sobbing quietly. Nothing has changed. Gavin hugged Jenny with a mischievous smile on his face, and seemed very satisfied with his idea. Jenny also looked at me with relief, as if she thought I would definitely agree. Faced with everyone's self-righteous expressions, the resentment rushed into my heart again. Without even thinking, I pushed Kelly out of my arms. "We only agreed to come to celebrate your birthday, not to match me up. This is a different price." Gavin and Jenny were stunned, and Kelly also froze. She raised her tearful eyes and looked at me in shock. At this moment, I no longer had any sympathy for her. I looked at Gavin half jokingly and half dissatisfiedly. Gavin, everyone knows that Kelly only loves you. You pushed her to me because you are afraid that I will be cuckolded in the future? My unconventional approach immediately disrupted Gavin's mind. Now that he has just turned 20, he is far from being as sophisticated as he will be more than a decade later. He was actually flustered for 2 seconds. Then, what do you want to do to be with Kelly? Gavin is still thinking about his matching literature at this moment. I just hope that everyone around me can be happy. I have Jenny, and that's enough for me. I am destined not to respond to Kelly's feelings, but she is also my sister who grew up under my watch, and I also want her to be happy. Is that wrong? The heroine Jenny comforted Gavin. Gavin, you are right. I also hope that Kelly can find the happiness she deserves. Damn, Jenny and Gavin are worthy of being the male and female protagonists, and their obsession with pairing literature is so consistent. The male protagonist Gavin has an affectionate female partner Kelly, and the female protagonist Jenny of course also has her own affectionate male partner. In this story, after she married Gavin, she also matched this affectionate male partner with her best friend. The supporting male character is also very tolerant. He spends his whole life with the heroine's best friend with his love for her. When Kelly and I had a big fight, Jenny used the male partner and her best friend as examples to admonish us. Her point was, we were both introduced by friends, so why was her admirer and her best friend doing well while Kelly and I ended up in such a fight? I looked at Jenny and smiled. I heard that Miss Jenny also has a childhood sweetheart. Kelly happens to be Gavin's childhood sweetheart. They were also college classmates. If they get together, wouldn't it be more predestined for them to be together? Jenny was stunned, but Gavin suddenly realized, clapped his hands, and pulled Jenny. Yes, Kelly can be with Robert. Jenny looked very unhappy, and Kelly even more so. Gavin assigned her to this and that without asking about her own wishes. She finally couldn't help crying. In the end, she still had some self-respect left. In full view of everyone, Kelly covered her face, pushed through the crowd, and ran out. Kelly. Gavin subconsciously took half a step forward, but Jenny pulled his hand back. He frowned and said, Jenny, quickly contact Robert to find Kelly. She is a girl, and it is very dangerous for her to run out so late at night. The corners of Jenny's mouth twitched twice. Gavin, Robert, I was going to introduce him to my bestie. Gavin pushed her. We haven't introduced them yet. Listen to me, Robert and Kelly are more suitable. One is your brother and the other is my sister. These two are destined to be together. What brother and sister? Gavin is acting out Dream of the Red Chamber here. Unable to bear Gavin's urging, Jenny reluctantly called the male partner Robert and asked him to comfort the injured Kelly. Gavin was not a fool. Seeing Jenny's bad face, his temper suddenly emerged. I just asked you to make a phone call, why are you so upset? Kelly is not worthy of your childhood sweetheart? Jenny was suddenly stabbed by Gavin, and her face became worse. Kelly, you call me Jenny, call her Kelly, who is your girlfriend? Is it Kelly you like in your heart? If you like her, go chase her yourself. Haha, I think you have something to hide. When I told you to introduce Kelly to Robert, you got a sullen face. Jenny, I advise you not to have your eyes on the pot while having your cake and eat it too. Gavin. How dare you throw dirty water on me? I have always only regarded Robert as my brother, you are so disgusting. But you keep calling Kelly your sister, I have tolerated you for a long time. Gavin sneered, how dare you say that to me? Haven't you ever been to Brother Robert before? I was watching the fun from the side. Jenny and Gavin had a huge argument in front of all of us. Gavin was so angry that he smashed the place, while Jenny cried, okay, you are mad at me because of Kelly, right? I think you should stop hurting Robert and stay with Kelly. I also didn't expect that my rejection would cause the hero and heroine to break up. That night at the banquet, Jenny left in tears, and Gavin threatened her from behind, if you dare to leave today, I will never forgive you. Jenny left without looking back. Gavin's own relationship was a mess, so naturally he couldn't think about pairing up. I had a few days of peace and tranquility. Thinking about how Gavin in his previous life had caused the hard work of 2 generations of my family to go down the drain with just a flick of his fingers, I immediately called my dad. who is still the general manager, and asked him to quickly bring together the senior management to work out a second growth curve. And he was specifically told to choose a track that was not so closely related to Gavin's family. I already know that this world revolves around Gavin, so the Gavin family behind him is involved in many fields like a behemoth. But I don't believe that the Gavin family can survive in every industry in this world. Besides, all my sufferings in my previous life were ultimately caused by Kelly, and Gavin targeted me just to vent his anger on Kelly. This time, I have already rejected Kelly, so Gavin should have no reason to target me, right? But what I didn't expect was that Kelly took the initiative to find me. David, why didn't you agree to Gavin that day and embarrass me? Kelly sat down in front of me in the school cafeteria. Normally, as Gavin's follower, I know Kelly, but we are not very familiar with each other. After all, she only had eyes for Gavin and basically ignored other men. In all the years I've known her, we've never spoken to each other more than 10 sentences. Logically speaking, I have cut off all ties with her in this life, so she shouldn't come to see me anymore. Faced with Kelly's unreasonable behavior, I lost my appetite, threw down my chopsticks, stood up and left. It's not me who embarrassed you, but your brother Gavin. Get it clear, I am also a victim of his matchmaking. Kelly probably didn't expect that I, Gavin's follower, would dare to give her a cold look. She was so angry that she said, "You." I left the cafeteria and she got up and chased after me. David, explain it to me clearly. Is it possible that I'm insulting you by being your girlfriend? I stopped and looked at her with amusement. Sister, don't you like Gavin? Why are you looking for me? It seems like he and Jenny have had a falling out now. Why don't you go find him? Kelly's face flashed with confusion. Gavin and Jenny broke up? Yes, they quarreled because of you. I think Gavin may not have no feelings for you. If you work harder, Qingmei will definitely be able to beat Tianjiang. Kelly was persuaded by me. Really? You think I'm better than Jenny? I nodded sincerely. Her face lit up. Then I'll go find Gavin now. A few days later, I heard from a friend in the circle that Kelly had intervened between Jenny and Gavin. 3 people, oh no, 4 people were having a great time. 4 people, who else? I was puzzled. A friend joked, you don't know? It's Jenny's childhood sweetheart, Robert. He has always liked Jenny, and now that Kelly has intervened, he has no choice but to wade into the muddy water. Come to think of it, it was you who got involved in this matter in the first place. When Gavin realizes what is happening, he might take his anger out on you. I quickly asked about the situation. Only then did I know that Kelly was heartbroken by Gavin's matchmaking and had not contacted Gavin for several days. She had no idea that Gavin had a big fight with Jenny because of her. After being fooled by my few words, he immediately forgave Gavin's previous contempt and started to pester him again. After Jenny had a big fight with Gavin that night, she felt a little regretful. When he went to Gavin to make peace, he ran into Kelly harassing him. She became jealous and couldn't help but have a big argument with Kelly. In order to teach Jenny a lesson, Gavin deliberately defended Kelly, causing Jenny to leave sadly again. The heroine's affectionate male partner makes a brilliant appearance at this time and comforts the injured heroine Jenny. This scene was unfortunately seen by Gavin, who had chased out. The result is a couple arguing and blaming each other with their respective backups. Gavin and Robert had a big fight, and Jenny and Kelly were not to be outdone. So they were all taken to the police station, but Gavin was bailed out and was released soon, and Kelly was also brought out with him. What about Jenny? The heroine was just thrown into the police station by the hero? The friend snorted. I think Gavin has finally seen clearly this time. Jenny is clinging to him, but she is unwilling to give up her backup boyfriend. How can she compare to Kelly's single-minded devotion to him? I didn't expect the hero and heroine to fall out so easily. But if you think about it carefully, there are clues. Gavin is not a fool. Does he really think that if he gives Kelly to me, Kelly will really give up on him? He was pretending to be ignorant even though he knew the truth. In his previous life, he had the nerve to lecture me from a high position. Didn't he also enjoy the vanity of being loved by a spare tire for many years? Gavin still has the nerve to talk about Jenny. Didn't he officially announce his girlfriend while at the same time hooking up with Kelly in the name of his sister? To put it bluntly, these two are just as bad as each other, so don't laugh at each other. Now that the male and female protagonists and the male and female supporting characters are all mixed up, Gavin probably won't come to trouble me in the short term. But I still have a strong sense of crisis. Just as my friend said, once he gets unhappy and wants to find someone to vent his anger on, and thinks that the source of his anger is because of my ignorant follower, then my family will be in big trouble. I rushed home anxiously and asked my dad, "How is it going? Do you have a charter for the company development strategy that I asked you to discuss?" My dad was stunned by me. "The company is doing well, why are you looking for other tracks? If you don't do well in one, you will lose money." I was anxious. Gavin Family Group's orders account for 80% of our company's business. "Dad, once Gavin Family Group turns against us, we will collapse directly." My dad muttered, "Aren't they still cooperating well now?" I sighed, "Forget it, Dad, you should retire early and I will be the general manager of the company in the future." My father was so angry that he raised his eyebrows. "You unfilial son, your father is not dead yet, and you are thinking about taking the family property? Okay, then you can invest money in me and I can start my own business, okay?" I asked my father for 10 million yuan, which became the startup capital for my business. In my previous life, in order to get rid of the influence of Gavin's family group, I conducted in-depth research on the Gavin family's business empire. The Gavin family group started out in real estate and has strategic layouts in large industries such as construction, financial investment, and new energy, but has not yet entered the medical and health sectors. In my previous life, I wanted to develop the family business in this direction, but it is not easy to turn a business around. I had just convinced the board to invest in a unicorn in this space when Gavin bankrupted me. This time, with the experience from my previous life, I directly found the companies that I was optimistic about in my previous life. At this time, they were still just startups and had just reached the angel round. So, as an angel investor, I invested in 3 of these companies that were engaged in medical robots and eventually became unicorns. I used the remaining 2 million to set up my own company, a distribution company in the medical and health industry. I did not do any research and development or production myself, but specialized in distribution for the companies I invested in. This road is not easy. Apart from compulsory courses, I seldom went to school and spent all my time on expanding the market. So when Kelly approached me again, I was quite surprised. After all, I have never been so soft-hearted as to become her boyfriend in my life. To be honest, I am not really familiar with her. I really can't think of any reason why she came to see me. I am pregnant. Kelly looked very bad and had lost a lot of weight compared to 6 months ago. Her eyes were red and swollen, as if she had been crying for a long time. "You are pregnant, why did you tell me? I am not the father of the child." I didn't expect that this sentence of mine would directly break Kelly's defense. Her tears suddenly flowed down, and she sobbed, "I know, the child is Gavin's, but he doesn't know." I had little patience and listened to her talk in a disjointed and intermittent manner about her experiences over the past 6 months. It turned out that Kelly came to the school cafeteria to block me that day, but I told her that Gavin was because she had a conflict with Jenny, and she suddenly regained confidence in pursuing Gavin. After some persuasion, Gavin was really moved by her. As for Jenny, she had Robert, her childhood friend, to comfort her, so Gavin was angry and treated Kelly even better. So much so that he drank too much at a party and had sex with Kelly after drinking, crossing that line. Once this happens, it will happen again. Gradually, Gavin and Kelly developed into a friends with benefits relationship. Kelly still has a crush on Gavin, but Gavin is still wavering between her and Jenny. Until Kelly found out she was pregnant and Gavin had another fight with Robert over Jenny, she became desperate and felt that Gavin still loved Jenny the most. She was so sad and desperate that she couldn't find anyone to talk to, so she could only think of me. So she came to me. "David, what should I do? Can you help me? I am really speechless." "Help? How can I help? Do I know you well? You want me to help with this?" Kelly carefully looked at my expression and said, I don't know whether I should keep this child or not. Can you give me some advice?" I closed my eyes and said, "Sister, this child is not mine. It's yours and Gavin's. You should discuss the issue of whether to keep the child with him." "Why are you telling me? What if I say he shouldn't stay and beat up Gavin and come to trouble me?" If I say you should keep the baby, and you really give birth to Gavin but don't take responsibility, who will raise him? Kelly lowered his eyelids and thought for 2 seconds. You are right. This child cannot be beaten, but what if Gavin is really irresponsible? Can you marry me? I ride a horse. I'm saying, you're a passionate female supporting role. Why do you have to imitate the female lead and add scenes like running away with the ball and finding a backup to get married by contract? Have you ever thought that I don't want to be your backup? But what do you want me to do? It's not right to give birth, and it's not right not to give birth. Kelly collapsed and covered her ears. I simply snatched Kelly's phone, called her parents, and explained the situation in a few words. Then, in front of Kelly's stunned eyes, he stuffed the phone back to her and said, if you can't solve it, go ask your parents. I have no relationship with you and I don't want to be your trash can or spare tire. Kelly's pregnancy undoubtedly caused a storm in both the Gavin family and the Kelly family. As soon as the Kelly family found out that their daughter was pregnant with Gavin's child, they immediately went to Gavin's family to demand an explanation. And Gavin's parents didn't like Jenny in the first place. When he learned that Kelly, who was considered a good match for him, was pregnant, he was overjoyed and immediately pressed Gavin's head, asking him to agree to get a marriage certificate with Kelly. Gavin is a rebellious person. I was originally wavering between Jenny and Kelly, but after being pushed by my parents, the balance in my heart completely tipped towards Jenny. He refused to marry Kelly and ran away to live with Jenny. Gavin's parents were furious. The group was still controlled by his father. As soon as the chairman spoke, Gavin's source of income was cut off. And in all industries related to Gavin's family group, no one dared to hire him. So, Gavin, who was once high and mighty, became a stray dog overnight. Why do I know this so clearly? Because of Gavin, he came to me to borrow money. I haven't seen him since that birthday dinner. So much so that when Gavin appeared in front of me, I almost didn't recognize him. Is this guy, wearing cheap clothes, with drooping hair and a hunched back, really the arrogant Gavin? He had an untidy beard and it was obvious that he was not living a happy life. The first time he saw me, his depressed eyes suddenly lit up. David, good brother. Lend me some money for emergency. I was surprised. Borrow money? How? He understood what I hadn't said, and a bit of annoyance appeared on his face. My dad has banned me, so I can't find a job, and Jenny is the same. Now we can only work in a coffee shop. Our rent was about to expire, but she was found to be 2 months pregnant. I had no money to support her, so I had to abort the baby. You also work in the cafe? My question made Gavin silent for 2 seconds, and then he lowered his voice a little. No. I don't know these, I can't work there. I think it's not that he can't do it, but he just can't bring himself to do it. But what surprised me was that Gavin, who was once so high and mighty, acted quite naturally when talking about his predicament and asking me to lend him money. To the point that I have to suspect that he has borrowed money from many people using this excuse. As it turned out, my guess was correct. Gavin scratched his hair twice and said, "Humph, those who used to flatter me, after knowing that my father issued a ban, they all ran away one by one, and dared not associate with me, let alone borrow money from me. We are all second-generation rich kids in our families, and we have to listen to our families. How can we borrow money from them?" At this point, he paused, revealing a hint of jealousy in his tone. Or Jenny told me that you have started your own company, so you should be out of your parents' control, right? It's just a small business, and we're still in the startup phase. Looking at this year's financial report, I'm thankful that we didn't lose money. Hearing what I said, Gavin's eyes flashed with contempt. Yeah, you don't have any business talent. If it's your turn, stop struggling. Go back and coax your dad. It will be much easier to hand over the family company to you. Anyway, your family relies on our Gavin family, and their lives are so comfortable. I smiled slightly. What about you? Actually, if you just go back and bow your head to your father, won't the problem be solved? Gavin stopped talking. But since he didn't walk away in dismay, it meant that this thought had actually turned over in his mind countless times. It's just that Gavin's father was too cruel and didn't give him a way out. He really has nothing left now, only his self-esteem. But the little bit of self-respect he had left wouldn't allow him to be the first to bow to his father. But what does this have to do with me? I poured him a cup of tea. After a long while, Gavin raised his head and wiped his face. Let's not talk about this anymore. How much money do you have? Can you lend it to me? I'll pay you back when Jenny gets her salary. TSK TSK TSK. A real man actually asked his woman to go out to work to support the family. Never mind, just treat it as a good show for me. I gave him 10,000 yuan to get rid of him. Gavin was so moved that he held my shoulders tightly before leaving. A friend in need is a friend indeed. I, Gavin, have experienced all the ups and downs in life, but you are the only one who has given me a helping hand. Good brother, I will never forget your kindness in my life. It seems that this arrogant young master has been severely beaten by society. In the past, 10,000 yuan was just a drop in the bucket for him, he just threw it away. Now, if I lend him 10,000, he will be grateful to me. Everything changes with time. After that, Gavin seemed to really treat me as a good brother and would often come to me to complain about his life. I'm busy all day expanding the market and getting the company on a firm footing. It's pretty tiring. I just take his complaints as a joke. The principle that a poor couple will mourn for 100 days applies to everyone. Gavin is used to a good life and there is no way he would lower himself to work by selling his physical labor. So the responsibility of supporting the family fell on Jenny. After Jenny had a miscarriage, she went back to work at the coffee shop without even taking a day off. As a result, he fainted at work and was sent to the hospital. Her colleagues couldn't get through to Gavin on the phone. Because at that time, he was video chatting with Kelly. Kelly's unborn baby was kept at the strong request of Gavin's parents. Now that she is about to give birth, Kelly is a little scared and keeps contacting Gavin for comfort, but Gavin would ask her for money. Kelly will naturally help the father of her child. Gavin's parents turned a blind eye. Jenny found out about this when she woke up in the hospital. She was so sad and angry that she had a big fight with Gavin. Gavin was slapped a few times by her and then broke up with. He also complained to me, why doesn't Jenny understand me? Kelly and I are just pretending to be friends. She can give me money. Isn't this also making Jenny less tired? He can talk about being a gigolo so refreshingly and elegantly, he really deserves to be the male lead. Jenny's voluntary departure gave Gavin an opportunity to bow to his parents. He returned to the Gavin family, accepted his parents' arrangement, got engaged to Kelly, and decided to wait until Kelly's child was born and hold the wedding 100 days later. He sent me an invitation. I deliberately asked him, what about Jenny? Did they just break up like that? Gavin said, if I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have bothered. Kelly is so good, my parents like her, she even gave me a son, and her family background is not bad. I was blind to fall in love with Jenny. Forget it. Everyone has their youth and recklessness. Now I just want to live a good life with Kelly. I recorded this conversation and sent it to Jenny verbatim. Gavin wants to live a good life with Kelly, but he's just dreaming. I wanted to live a good life in my previous life, but he and Kelly pushed me into a dead end. If I don't take revenge in this life, how can I be justified for the tragic death I suffered in my last life? Jenny really lived up to my expectations. After the news of Gavin and Kelly's marriage spread, she quickly rushed to the building of Gavin Family Group with her parents and relatives, holding banners to accuse the heir of Gavin Family Group of abandoning her. When the security guards tried to stop them, her parents angrily accused Gavin of being a gigolo and said that if he didn't have the ability, he shouldn't have let his daughter get pregnant. If she couldn't keep the baby, she would have to borrow money for an abortion. Reporters swarmed in after hearing the news. Gossip and scandals always spread fast. Jenny faced the camera and told the whole story of her and Gavin's relationship in tears. In her words, Gavin is a complete scumbag and Kelly is undoubtedly a despicable intruder. The discussion among the onlookers made Gavin Family Group a hot topic. Of course, this is not a good reputation. The stock price also fluctuated downward. The larger the group, the more it needs to consider its reputation and social impact. The Gavin incident exposed the weakness of the powerful Gavin Family Group. Even though this world is centered around Gavin and the Gavin Family Group is a behemoth, it always has its competitors. Many of Gavin's family competitors hyped up the incident, and Gavin's reputation was completely ruined. How can the group be handed over to such a second-generation rich man with unclear brains? So after a board vote, Gavin lost his right to inherit the group. But that's not the end of it. Doesn't Jenny have a loving partner, Robert? After he knew what happened to Jenny, he hated Gavin deeply, and he hated Kelly even more. In order to vent his anger on behalf of Jenny, he actually staked out Gavin and Kelly's new villa. On the day Kelly was about to go to the hospital to give birth, a pickup truck hit her hard. Kelly was sitting in the back seat. Perhaps because of her big belly and the fact that she was not wearing a seatbelt, she was thrown out of the car by the impact. She was rushed to the hospital due to heavy bleeding, and her life was saved with great difficulty. However, the baby was gone and her uterus was removed. Robert was arrested and sentenced. Jenny was so touched that she decided to stay with him and wait until he was released from prison to be together. But Kelly wasn't so lucky. She and Gavin lost their child and cannot have another one. Her and Gavin's planned marriage was delayed again and again and finally came to nothing. During this period, I also heard from friends that the Kelly family had repeatedly made trouble with the Gavin family, but to no avail. After all, Gavin's parents are disappointed with their son and plan to train their grandson to take over the business. How can you let your son marry a daughter-in-law who is infertile? 5 years later, my sales company successfully expanded the domestic market and sold equipment from several medical device companies I invested in all over the country. The market value of the companies I invested in has doubled long ago, bringing me huge returns. At least in the field of healthcare, the companies I invested in are already far ahead. It won't be easy for the Gavin family to intervene again. I have finally gotten rid of the shadow of being controlled by the Gavin family in my previous life. The next time I saw Kelly was in a high-end private nursing home. The dean is interested in introducing our equipment and asked me to have a meeting. Kelly was basking in the sun in the small garden. When passing by her, the dean gossiped a little. She is the former young lady of the Gavin family group. Former madam? I haven't paid attention to this group of people for a long time, and I didn't know that Kelly was actually the former mistress of the Gavin family group. The dean gave a few casual explanations. I just found out that Kelly's marriage fell through after she was hit by a car. Kelly's family was not convinced and negotiated with Gavin's family for a long time. Finally, Gavin's family gave in and allowed Kelly and Gavin to get their marriage certificate first, and then divorced, allowing Kelly to enjoy the support of Gavin's family. But Kelly couldn't accept her parents' casual arrangement. Plus, Gavin turned so ruthless after learning that she couldn't have children. She went crazy. The dean lowered his voice and gossiped with me. It is said that Gavin's son was born through in vitro fertilization. Some people also suspect that it is not his child. Gavin had long been abandoned by his parents, and was no longer the person who could easily crush me in his previous life. I don't really care what happened to him, but I'm a little curious about Kelly. Is she really crazy? The dean said meaningfully, does it matter whether you are crazy or not? Anyway, if you don't want to be sent to prison by the Gavin family, you have to accept being locked up here for life. I looked at Kelly's thin back and smiled. That's great. In her previous life, she used the power of the Gavin family to suppress me. In this life, let her experience the oppression of the Gavin family herself.